Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction to read through for Omniscient Reader or Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint chapters 126 onward. I'm extremely excited to read. I'm recording a teeny bit earlier than usual today. It is still on Tuesday, so it's not like I'm like early, but last week I felt kind of bad. I did 3 chapters, but those 3 chapters only ended up being like 20 some minutes, and I want to do more. I want to read more. Not too much, because then I feel like, you lose some of the discussion. The discussion's not quite as good. But I'm starting with 126. I might do 3 this week if they're kind of long, or I could go up to like even close to an hour-ish maybe. I don't know. We'll see when I feel like stopping. So either way, let's start with 126 and just get into reading. I guess there's like, you were just here for last video. We just started the new scenario. We got in there. We found out what it is. We need to become the catastrophes and wipe out this race of tiny people like the Lilliputians or Lilliputians or whatever from Gulliver's Travels. And it seems like, I don't know, morally, what do we do? Like, how does this even work? I mean, Dokja has to kill the snake, so I think he'll be fine with that, even though, what if it's just a creature minding its own business, living out in the wild? But he'll have to kill that, that's one thing, but then slaughtering these people, the Japanese team are currently working on it. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. What are the morals here? Like, are we cool with this? What are we doing? But either way, let's start reading. And then we have him lose, or the guy we got, oh man, how am I forgetting his name? He's loosening his grip on his sword, the guy we met last time who was actually standing up for them against his teammates. Why'd that man stop all of a sudden? Do you think he's scared? Says Yuseung. Let's get started, Amino. Sure. And they walk past. He's holding it in. We see the people start to get destroyed by these blasts of energy, and then just a swing of an axe can wipe out a bunch of them. They just get slaughtered. Damn it. Look. And then, is this the hero of the tiny people? Chapter 24, Something That Can Be Changed, Part 1. So I wonder if something that can be changed could be referring to the fate of these tiny people, the fate of this world, if they can change the scenario in some way, or if something that can be changed is in reference to Yuseung, just like something that can't be changed kind of was, where maybe something that can be changed, even though you can't change what happened already to the previous regression, the 41st Yuseung or whatever it was, if you can't change that, maybe you can still change the current Yuseung. You can still be a positive force and influence on her. That little person, he seems different. They're not all weak just because they're small. We see him charging up to the one guy's face, landing on his axe, and slashing his arm. But then he gets swatted away. Damn it. Look, the catastrophe's bleeding. We can take them down, charge, and they all start to get a little bit of hope. Just a little more. Get lost, you puny insects. They're crawling all over them. The little people might have a chance at winning after all. For the tiniest creed in the world. For the tiniest creed. The little constellation of the little planet is cheering for the incarnation Gilemium. The little constellation of the little planet has gifted 10 coins to the incarnation Gilemium, because they're trying to survive their own apocalypse. This is turning out quite interesting. Is that a Dokkaebi from the voice box? Oh right, it's the little hope they have that makes their story even more touching. That being said, I will now partly remove some penalties that the catastrophes had been under. Oh? Those of you who have chosen the way of the catastrophe can now use additional buffs, so please refer to your stat windows. And then, I'm not going to say anything yet. Could this get any easier? There's one word I could say, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to say it. Could this get any easier? The contract of plausibility binding the catastrophes have been partly removed. The catastrophes can now be in tune with their supporting constellations to a greater level. The finds that may occur due to plausibility errors will be covered by the star stream. They've just made things boring for us. Okay. So they're powering it up because, of course, they're supposed to be entertaining the star stream by being this impossible force that the small people have to stand up against. And all of these small people's stories all of their stories are, enhanced. The flavor of the small people's stories is enhanced by this great adversary this great adversity even that they have to overcome. Now we have Dokja and Yuseung watching along as they get wiped out. Wow. A few constellations are happy with the massacre that's taking place. The little constellation of the little planet is in tremendous pain. A minority of the constellations want to see the limbs of the insolent incarnation Galemium torn from his body. He's been grabbed. Well then, if that's what they want. His arm's grabbed. And then we hear yelling as it's ripped. The constellation of the little planet is writhing in pain, begging for them to stop. I can't let them get away with this, says Yuseung. Yuseung. If we end up fighting with them, the scenario will become much harder. We can still clear it though, right? That's right. Again, then I'll do it. Again, maybe his handling of Yuseung is something that can be changed. Maybe he can save her some way through this. I mean, like, this is already what Dokja's been doing, but again, we're seeing it brought to the forefront again in him, like, having the ability to give this Yuseung a better outcome. The penalties lifted from the catastrophes have now returned. What? Has the buff ended now? Now, we have a blast from behind. He loses his grip on Galemium. I think his name was Amino. Huh? What the hell was that just now? Who goes there? And Galemium's caught. He has his limbs, though. I don't know if it was just broken. We had a rip sound effect. I guess maybe he, I don't know if it's maybe censored from the novel and the novel was more brutal. Even though there hasn't been much censorship thus far, things have been pretty brutal in Omniscient Reader. So maybe that's something that was more brutal in the novel and they kind of censored it a bit. Or maybe, again, his arm could just be broken, not entirely torn off. Okay, it's Dokja and he runs away. The star stream has detected an anomaly in your action. Warning, take caution not to make enemies of the fellow catastrophes. Then, the little constellation of the little planet has noticed your presence. The little constellation of the little planet is looking at you with a pitiful look. The little constellation of the little planet is expecting a show of compassion from you. The little constellation of the little planet has become hopeful because of your appearance. The little constellation of the little planet has gifted you 10 coins. Man, I love that scene. That's so good. And at the end of it all, seeing this little bit of hope and the way this planet's being treated, and then it's like, he's like, you've given me hope. Here's 10 coins, compared to the more, like, extravagant amounts that have just been tossed like it's nothing towards Dokja. You've returned the 10 coins that were gifted to you. If you really care about your planet, don't ever do that again. The little constellation of the little planet is flustered. If you don't want your planet to fall prey to their stories, that is. The little constellation of the little planet blushes. The little constellation of the little planet remains solemnly silent. And who was this little constellation to have done so much to become a constellation from this little planet? Warning, take caution not to make enemies of fellow catastrophes. And he's using the cloak. Mister, I'll do it this time. She pulls a knife. I can take on both of them. If I kill them now, I'll be put under a penalty. That might end up ruining the plans I have for this scenario. I have a lot to do here in Peaceland, he thinks. I need to clear the scenario and also hunt down the serpent as requested by Persephone. And then we see the scenario reminders. If Yuseung can deal with the two of them, if I could just delay the penalty, the chance of our survival will be increased drastically. It feels like taking out competition would be good for you too, right? Don't drag this on for too long. Be as quick as you can. So he's going to let her tank the debuff pretty much. So this seems like a good deal. If you don't get the debuff, you can avoid it, and it's sad that Yuseung has to take on the debuff, and that might like lower your power a bit, but at least you're with her. So it's, you know, you can still cover for her increased weakness. Meanwhile, 2 of your competition is taken out. Even though, is it really competition if you're all kind of working together collaboratively? I still felt like it was. And then she nods. Just leave it to me. She dashes in. They're both shocked. And she goes straight in for the wrist of one and the leg of another. I wonder if she's specifically targeting tendons, maybe? What? Who the hell is that? Or if ORV even really gets that in depth with the fighting. And then we get our reminder at the end. Very, 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 very good chapter. Okay. I didn't know if there would be, you know, I'm always not entirely certain. Will there ever be anything beyond the reminders at the end? Very good chapter. I think that the, you know, overall idea, the overarching stuff is pretty solid, pretty good, you know, no complaints. But what's really, 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 really good is the smaller character stuff. The character stuff here is really, really, really good. Stuff with the little constellation of the little planet and Dokja, stuff with Yuseung, I think is incredible. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy with this chapter, and I'm excited to get to the next one. Let's continue reading. To start chapter 127, we continue with Yuseung. Hey, it's just a kid I've never seen her, it's just a kid I've never seen her before. Could she be from the Korean Dome? I've heard that people from Korea might be joining us. I guess it was true. Dokja's just watching along. Come to think of it, Yuseung doesn't have the interpretation skill. She must not understand them, since they're speaking Japanese. Move it, kid. And this is where it's helpful for us, seeing everything from Dokja's point of view. Move it, kid. We don't need to fight each other. No fight, okay? This isn't good. We're in the middle of a bounty scenario. My supporting constellation's telling me to just get rid of her. They look at each other, and then back towards her. Maybe this won't be too difficult, since there are 2 of us, and Korea's only just joined the scenario. You haven't forgotten who joined from our side in the first and second groups, right? The early starters from Japan. The White Demon King, Izumi Hiroki, and his men. No matter what country it is, it's always the top incarnations who end up arriving first. Then, all the soldiers are looking on in horror. Oh, what's going on? The little constellation of the little planet is moved by the incarnation Shin Yuseung. The little constellation of the little planet is gifted 10 coins to the incarnation Shin Yuseung. So even after what Dokja said, Incarnation Shin Yuseung has unlocked a new possibility in the scenario. A select few constellations have evaluated the incarnation Shin Yuseung positively. A select few constellations have started cheering for the incarnation Shin Yuseung. Incarnations from Japan, you seem to believe that you might be at a disadvantage. I won't say it, but do you really think that's the case? That's right. Come to think of it, and this guy's down. It was her who attacked us first. She doesn't seem to be aware of the penalties in place right now. Was that the debuff? Okay. That's really cool, because I didn't see that coming, and that's like such good foreshadowing. We already saw it. He tried to protect the little people, and he got hit with the debuff, didn't he? She doesn't seem to be aware of the penalties in place right now. Or rather than debuff, I guess penalty would be the right thing to call it. Whether it's Japan or Korea, all the people who entered first must be idiots. We aren't going to go easy on you, just because you're a kid. And this, saying that whether it's Japan or Korea, the people who entered first must be idiots, makes it seem like the guy who got collapsed here, I'm trying to remember his name, but I keep forgetting it. I'm sure they'll say it again soon. But that implies that he was one of the group that entered first. And Dokja just said the top incarnations, like Izumi, entered with his, closest people first. So what that implies to us is that if Yuseung takes these two down, that these two were just kind of like less powerful Japanese incarnations who entered later on, but the guy who actually stood up to them, even though he seemed meek and everything, he was one of the ones who entered first. He was one of Izumi's like really close people potentially. So that is really, really cool, if that's the way they're like sort of drip feeding this to us. We aren't going to go easy on you just because you're a kid. Then this is like our third just silent panel of Yuseung standing with the knife since she's entered this pose. Something that can be changed, part 2. We have both of them going in to use their abilities and attack. His axe and the other's blue flames. You can't just keep running, kid. She dodges and is able to pull herself along one of the threads. That's similar to Sanga's abilities. What the? Blink. Was that was that magic she just used? That's a spider web. That dagger and this skill, and that skill. Sanga must have trained her a little. Damn it, where is she? Personal skill character profile's been activated. Activating the character summary instead. We have Maruyama Kenichi, supporting constellation Fox with Two Tails. Personal attribute, Attention Seeker, rare. Damn it. Character summary Amano Goro, supporting constellation 1800-year-old turtle. Personal attribute, Strong and Bald, rare. Some of their overall stats seem to be above average, but they're still no match for Yuseung. What worries me is their supporting constellations. If they're a part of Japan's third wave of participants, they're probably not a force to be reckoned with, but most of Japan's powerful incarnations have either a samurai or swordsman as their supporting constellation. But both of them have monsters of fable as supporting constellations. Constellation Fox with Two Tails is displeased at the current display of hypocrisy. Constellations who used to be monsters are expressing their hostility against the incarnation Shin Yuseung. Okay, it specifically might be bad for her that she's like Beastmaster, and the beast-like constellations might get pissed because of it and want to support their incarnations even more. They start getting sliced. Damn it, where are you? Don't lose your cool. I'll take care of her. Then he uses flames. And it goes straight towards her. And wraps around to trap her in place, while the other guy charges in with an axe. The wolves then come in. Right. Okay, I like this. I was like, to me, there was a little tinge of me that was a bit disappointed that she was just copying the way Sanga fights, but I like that we're still keeping this. I was like, I kind of wanted her to be more unique than just better Sanga. But we do have her still using the beast user abilities to control the wolves from earlier. What the? And he is getting torn apart. Jeez. These damn dogs. Incarnation Shin Yuseung has activated the skill Advanced Interspecies Communication Level 3. What? She's a tamer? A few constellations are impressed with how composed the incarnation Shin Yuseung was able to remain. Even I didn't see this coming at all. She surely is a beast lord in the making. The thing is, though, she still hasn't been hit by the penalty. Like, the other guy was hit by the penalty like immediately without even damaging them, but she was able to cut each of them and then cut each of them more, and now just tear this guy apart seemingly with the dogs. He might be able to come out of it. Maybe the turtle constellation can give him some defense or some extra like resilience since it's 1800 years old. But yeah, like maybe he's still fine, but she's done a lot of damage, and I'm still worried about when the penalty is going to hit. She managed to tame all those wolves in that short amount of time. But, and he's getting bit in the neck. He should be getting pretty hurt, right? Okay, now it might be hitting. Huh? It's crazy that maybe that's how strong. Again, he seemed weak, but I think he was actually really strong. Maybe that's how strong he is, that even him turning on them, or maybe it's because he's on the same team, I'm not sure. But he got hit like pretty instantly without even doing anything. The Starstream had detected an irregularity, or maybe has detected an irregularity in the action of the incarnation Shin Yuseung. The Starstream has sensed hostility being aimed at a fellow catastrophe. More than hostility, I feel like they should have, they should have realized this before now. They let her get pretty far. Oh yeah, that guy's pretty messed up. And the wolves are dispelled? Like maybe her control is dispelled? Good, I knew this would happen. Incarnation Shin Yuseung will now be under level 1 scenario penalty. She dragged this out for too long. Incarnation Shin Yuseung's total body mass is decreased. Incarnation Shin Yuseung's overall stats have been decreased. Okay, so she's actually literally shrinking. And then I can't tell how much she was able to dodge. Maybe I should jump in and put an end to this. Mister, let me be the one to finish this. You sung so good. What could be driving this child to do such a thing? Incarnation Shin Yuseung will now be under level 2 scenario penalty. One thing I know for sure is that this is her battle that she must fight alone. I like that. I love that. I just mentioned this with Marriage Toxin recently, where we had a fight where the main character didn't even really take part in the main fight at the end of the arc, but rather the female lead of the arc got to have the fight herself. And I love that. I love when series don't have to be the main character always has to bail everyone out. The main character always has to be the one to look cool. And that's something I've praised ORV for in the past, where Dokja gets to look cool, he gets to look awesome, but he also gets to make mistakes here and there. But when it comes to the fight against the other Shin Yuseung, he gets to look cool and everything, but there are other characters who get to play an important role, and Viewpoint is the one who gets to be like the coolest, gets to come in for the final attack, gets to be built up as somebody who's really hype. So again, I like that it isn't just a scenario of Dokja always has to bail out Yuseung, that we let Yuseung have her own struggles and her own fights. And usually when that happens, it's because the main character is separated off somewhere else. But with this, he's just right here and he's choosing not to intervene. So it is a little bit different. There is still this sense that the danger to her is limited, in a sense that if she were about to die, for instance, Dokja would step in so that she didn't actually die. So there is at least some limit to the danger that she's in, but I like that he is letting her stand on her own. And more specifically, the author, the one actually writing it, is allowing Yuseung to actually do things. I keep saying her full name Shin Yuseung because I'm so used to reading the freaking boxes at this point. I'm box brained. But I like that she's being written in a way where she actually gets to have her own fight and struggle and her own agency here in this scene. She leaps up, and we see the threads as it seems like, oh, I was thinking that she was pulling herself down maybe to go for an attack. Okay, never mind. She is. It's just the panel was kind of weird. Okay, so we see the thread attached and then presumably she pulls herself down to go for the attack. You'll regret this. Incarnation Shin Yuseung has defeated the catastrophe that is yet to be named. Then, main contributor Shin Yuseung. And I mean, this is why she is an actual real catastrophe. And then we get our stuff at the end. Very, very, very good chapter, again, for Yuseung as a character. I love that we're getting so much good development for the side characters, and that the side characters in ORV are being elevated so much lately. Now that said, there are some characters who have been elevated much more than others. Some have got a lot more attention and a lot more like positive contribution than others. But still, very, very nice to see more Yuseung stuff. Yuseung is one of my favorite characters, so I feel like I'm definitely not going to be complaining if we continue to just get more and more and more Yuseung spotlight. So, you know, let's see what happens next now that these guys have presumably been defeated. Main contributor Shin Yuseung. Then, Incarnation Shin Yuseung has lost all powers of a catastrophe. The Dokja of the Star Stream has deemed Shin Yuseung's actions as a hostile action against the scenario. Incarnation Shin Yuseung has received level 3 scenario penalty. And it is very interesting that for her, the penalty doesn't seem to be the same as whatever happened to the other guy. Also, though, to note, it seemed like they were saying like her actual, mass, her actual stature had shrunk. So does this mean that she's like literally physically shrunk 3 times, or no? Or just her power? Shin Yuseung's begun to grow smaller. So is she going to be a tiny person? She's just going to be tiny for Dokja to carry around for the rest of the scenario. It does look, okay, like she is actually physically shrinking. And then her clothes don't shrink with her. Then she is actually tiny now. And also naked. Okay, we're cutting away. Oh wait, or are we not? This looks different from where they were. This is more deep in the forest. Is this just destruction from where the others passed through earlier? How many of those people are remaining? Quite a lot. So I guess this is just where they were. Where they were seemed more of a clearing, and this looks more like into the forest, but I think it might just be the camera angle. The camera, so to speak, angle. Wow, she murdered them, though. Good for her. I love this, though. I love that Yuseung gets to be this cool. And also, something to be said for, like, the female characters in Omniscient Reader as well is just they often get chances to be really cool. I love that. That's so cute! Look at her little bag dress that's been tied up. That's adorable. Oh my god, that's so cute. You knew what would happen, right? He nods. Then he walks over to this other guy. Are you gonna kill him too? No. We have a use for him. Has he lost consciousness? Again, he might be somebody who's actually, like, close to Izumi. Michio Shoji, the only one who tried to protect the small men. If I'm correct, I need him for the plan I have for this scenario. Take caution not to make enemies of fellow catastrophes. It seems like, out of everything that Yuseung has done for them, all the tiny people should make her their tiny queen, now that she's also tiny. A catastrophe who is opposed to another catastrophe will end up losing all the powers that come from being a like, it's like this whole society of tiny people should, like, worship her as their savior, making her a new constellation. A catastrophe who is opposed to another catastrophe will end up losing all the powers that come from being a catastrophe. Okay. And then the Dokja laughs. The Star Stream has deemed that you did not take enough action in your role as a catastrophe. We have a warning. If you do not murder a member of the ruling species of Peaceland within the next hour, your status as a catastrophe will be forfeited on the basis that you have no intention of acting as a catastrophe. We have the standoff. Really cool angle here. The art always looking great. I now have 1 hour left. I must hunt down the king of the catastrophe within this hour. The king of the catastrophe. That's so cute. Look at her. She's like a little like fruit or something. And now we're cutting to the future, I guess. I really was lucky, thinks Michio. I guess that's what I'll call him. Korea's a scary place. Maruyama and Amano were defeated in an instant. She was really strong even though she was just a kid. If a kid like her is that strong, I wonder how strong he's going to be. Level 2 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint activated. Thank you for helping me. If it weren't for you, I would have died at the hands of beasts. And this is interesting to note. So the fact that we're hearing what he's thinking to himself, and the fact that we get that box there, is that supposed to be telling us that Dokja was using it to listen in on his thoughts? It's nothing. To be honest, I was moved. I didn't expect a Korean to help me, of all people. We should all look out for each other, you know? How humble. Above all else, I like that he speaks fluent Japanese. I know it's just a translation skill, but seeing that he has the skill to translate Japanese, it must mean that he thinks positively of us. Right, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Michio Shoji. My name is Dokja. Kim Dokja. And it's weird, it seems like they're not flipping the names for the Japanese incarnations like they are for the Korean ones. Dogaza Kima? Kim Dokja. I see. Again, making the, connection that there wouldn't just be these, like, consonants to end words in Japanese. Like, Kim would be Kimu, and Dokja would be... I mean, they're making a joke with Dogiza, but I guess... Well, actually, since K and G might... Like, sometimes they're the same letter, or the same character in Korean. I don't know which one Dokja's... Like, there is a G that can be pronounced as K, but there is also something that is just K, and it's always K. I wonder which one Dokja's name is written with. I would assume it could be the one that could be G, which is why he's doing Dogiza. It might not just be a joke. And of course, there is no, there is no Z. There's one character that's used for J and Z when it comes to Korean. That's the whole Zahar Jihad thing in Tower of God. But they're using Z here when Michio is thinking about Dokja's name. I see. And then Kim Dogiza. And Dogiza is the humblest form of apology one can perform in Japanese culture. It's performed by bowing down on one's knees. I didn't know people used this as a name in Korea. Then, something that can be changed, part 3. By the way, haven't you seen that child? The child who killed Maruyama and Amano. Unfortunately, you were the only one alive when I got there. I see. You must be devastated to find your allies dead. I wonder if he just, like, turned the cloak into, like, a sack and then just stuff her in it so she's invisible. You must be devastated to find your allies dead. Devastated? No, those bastards. They deserve to die. And then he only thinks that they deserve to die, but as for me, I couldn't even stand up to them. Constellation Fox with Two Tails fails to hide the anger they're feeling. Constellation 1800-year-old turtle glares at the being that killed its incarnation. I guess the people of Japan have contracts mostly with monsters of fable. Not really. They only increased in number recently. Just a while ago, monsters of fable type constellations didn't hold much influence over us. Not while Izumi was still in Tokyo. None of this would have happened if Izumi were here. Who is this Izumi? He claimed the absolute throne in Tokyo. He's Japan's most powerful incarnation who entered into a contract with a powerful supporting constellation. He was also the one who led us when our first group entered the scenario. Did something happen to him? Since you were the one to save me, You must have seen how that child grew smaller. Yes, of course. I saw her grow... Did he grow small because he tried to do good? Like, I get the feeling, is Izumi going to be a good guy, or are we going to be able to just team up with him? I saw her grow small all of a sudden. I was thinking that when I was, like, getting the idea that those guys weren't super loyal when they were like, oh, the people who came in first must all be idiots. Maybe they weren't talking about Michio turning on them, but instead they were talking... It wasn't the penalty that happened to Michio, it was something else, maybe something to do with his constellation or something. It wasn't that hit him, but they were saying that not in reference to him, they were saying it in reference to Izumi. The Japanese groups that entered the scenario later already knew of that penalty. Then some men in your first group must have sided with the small men already. Yes. Was Izumi one of them? That I do not know. We stopped getting dimensional carrier pigeons a week ago. The last carrier pigeon had this message for us. You cannot kill the small men. Kill the small men. I wonder if the first message is from Izumi and the second is from the Starstream itself? 2 messages telling you to do the opposite. Why was it that you received 2 different messages? I don't know. I came here hoping to find that out myself. I intend to go to the place where our last carrier pigeon was sent out. So maybe, again, we're learning now Michio is probably not that important, but we're learning that Izumi may have actually just been a good person. I might be able to learn something there. Then again, I guess good person is questionable and relative. It seems like a good person would want to not kill the small men, but then again, when it's, kill the small men or die, I don't know how much you can really blame people for choosing, okay, if it's me or them, I guess I would have to if I want to stay alive. Again, I think it would be a bad thing to do, but much like the very first scenario, it is morally questionable. It is at least a questionable moral thing. And at the very least, those guys were bad people. They were assholes because they weren't just killing the small people, but they were like reveling in it. They were enjoying it, which is, not good. And then, no matter how well-intentioned he looks, maybe I shouldn't have told a Korean participant too much. He could actually be a Korean villain that I do not know of. Level 2 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint activated. So I'm assuming that we're seeing that because he's reading Michio's thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that we should kill the small men for the sake of our own survival? Well, if we resort to doing something like that, we'd be no different from the catastrophes that attacked Earth. His eyes are as deep as Izumi's. If it were him, maybe. And then we have Shin Yuseung messaging him with the mental messenger thing. Mister. Also, him saying his eyes are as deep as Izumi's makes me wonder, is Izumi like some nerd that had the novel translated and read a bit of it or something? And then he flinches. Or is Izumi just a real person that wasn't in the story that's just that cool? Because it seems like Dokja didn't recognize him from the story. Maybe he did earlier and I'm just forgetting, but the way he asked about him here made it seem like he didn't. And then, Mister. We see that she's hidden. Your understanding of the character Michio Shoji has increased drastically. I'm sorry, I was practicing my skill. Gosh, I was so focused on using my skill that I forgot about Yuseung. I'm a little surprised, to be honest. She's in his inside pocket. So, as I was saying, and that's how I ended up at that university, and he's still just rambling. I don't get how someone as average as him could have survived all this time. I see why she'd think that. She doesn't even have a translation skill, and yet she seems to have a general idea of our conversation. Well, how could she not, after she's seen him blabber on all excited? Michio Shoji only plays a passing role in TWSA, a very average person whose life can be summarized in just a few pages. You've seen what happened, how regular people killed others to survive, but that was because the scenario forced them to. Could you say the same for the small men who were murdered earlier? No one that survived this long is ever average. And she's surprised because, again, it was like I brought up, everyone killing to survive. It's like, those guys were bad. Like, Yuseung did the right thing. But at the same time, a person killing the small people just because they're killing the small people, can you call them bad because they're having to do it to survive in this apocalypse? Because this average-looking young man could become a catastrophe for some. And then we get the end of this chapter. I have actually been recording kind of a bit. This kind of turned into a little bit of a long one. Compared to the last 3 chapters, these 3 were kind of long. We're probably going on 45 minutes, but I will do one more. I'll do 129, just to do a little bit more this week, since last week was so short. Let's do 129. Okay, at first, the top of this chapter is just a plain white screen. I was like, oh god, did it mess up? Okay. No one that survived this long's ever average, because this average-looking young man could become a catastrophe for some. And now we've got something that can be changed, part 4. She's thinking about it. Could I have stopped them from becoming catastrophes if I had stopped them a little earlier? No, it wouldn't have made a difference either way, because a man can be a catastrophe to another. Or because a man can be a catastrophe to one another. Okay. Could that be why I became a catastrophe in the future? I'll make sure that doesn't happen. She reacts. We have a fly buzzing around. Insects seem to remain the same size here. They must feel like catastrophes to the small people. I see. That's not true at all. There's no way the insects are the same size in a world where everything else is smaller. Yuseung, can you understand what they're saying? So this is probably communication from Gil-young. Character Shin Yuseung has activated Advanced Interspecies Communication Level 3. They seem to be saying, Dokja, we rendezvoused with the second group. Good. Then can you relay something for me as well? Mr. Kim, are you listening to me? I am. Weren't you talking about the isekai genre? He gets excited. Can't believe he's talking about anime in a time like this. This goes to further prove that everyone who survived this long is far from ordinary. I'm aware that it was a very popular genre in Japan. I've seen a few works like that. Oh, you've seen your share of anime? Isekai's my favorite genre. The ones where the protagonist ends up in another world with information about that world readily available to them. Maybe this world that we're in is already an isekai to some of us. What? And again, I like that the series is directly saying Dokja may or may not be in an isekai. Like when he got on the train that day and his world became the world of the book he read, he may have, in essence, been isekai'd. What? And someone out there might be this world's protagonist. And we have Yuseung. So he is kind of viewing it as a potential isekai. That's an interesting theory. I knew someone who said the same thing as you just did. They must have been a fan of anime. A comic book artist, to be exact. She was one of the first to enter the scenario from Tokyo. Her name is Ren Asuka. And he's surprised. Or Asuka Ren, because, what would be her last name? I guess Ren is usually a given name, so I guess Asuka Ren, but I feel like Asuka is usually a given name too, isn't it? I guess it could be a surname. She said something similar to what you said. Now, this world could also be part of a comic someone drew. Is she special because is she maybe not a character, but an actual person that's maybe starting to put together that this is like a fictional world because she created her own fictional worlds? And then Asuka Ren. Could you tell me where she is right? Mr. Kim, I think we found it. What? Now we have another shot of the trees and a marking. This is a sign the participants from the first batch have left behind. It should be nearby. I'm certain Izumi's group was near this area. They look around. They step onto, you have entered Demon's Formation. Alright, this is, your overall stats have decreased due to the effects of Demon's Formation. Demon's Formation's a stigma that's unique to Japanese constellations. This is the skill that helped the White Demon King, Izumi Hiroki. Okay, so Dokja did know him from the novel. Become one of the top 100 strongest people in TWSA. Izumi, can you hear me? No, if it was Izumi who cast this demon's formation, it'd be much harder to remain standing right now. So whoever cast the formation here wasn't the White Demon King Izumi. Only a select few Japanese incarnations other than Izumi can cast demon's formation. There's no doubt about it. The serpent incarnate is nearby. We see somebody stepping out. And is that like one of the werewolf people, the lycanthropes? Are there multiple of them with him? Oh, it might just be masks. You've brought a Korean. Wait, he isn't our enemy. He actually saved me. You must have come here with our third group. Whose team are you on? I'm with Izumi. Izumi? And they start laughing. Such a team doesn't exist anymore, so is this the second team, maybe? What do you mean? Could Izumi have... You really do seem to be clueless. Tell me, has Izumi been killed? And they go to communicate. No, I think that is an actual lycanthrope. Name, Michio Shoji. Overall stats below average. No supporting constellation. He's a nobody. And he has a scouter. You don't deserve to know what happened to Izumi. I will spare your life, so get lost. Then, what about me? Dokja. He must have some balls. Someone has used battle counter on you. Personal skill, fourth wall's been activated. And it's beeping like crazy. It explodes. The battle counter has ceased to function due to the fourth wall's effect. So again, they're using this, especially since it's the Japanese group, to do a Dragon Ball reference. This is a scene I've only seen in comic books. My counter. Your leader. Sorry, hiccup. Where is the serpent? I don't know how much you know about us, but now we can't let you just leave. Who are you? Wait. The rude bastard who uses... the rude bastard in a coat who uses swords. I see. The Dokubi told me about him. What? You must be the leader of the Soul Dome. He's surprised. That's so good. You look a little different from what I heard. Handsome face, sharp nose line. Man, they really take any chance to take this dig at Dokja. I guess rumors are not to be trusted. Again? They must have mistaken me for someone else. Surround him. He's Korea's Supreme King. Wait, I think there's been a misunderstanding. He isn't the Supreme King. His name is Kim Dogaza. Be quiet. You know that you'll grow smaller by attacking me, right? We won't attack you. We won't attack you. You'll be the one to attack us. Me? Why? Because if you don't, your friends will die. And all of his friends are tiny already. They already tried. Wow. So all of his friends already tried to either just be antagonistic and attack them. Maybe they were tricked into it. Or maybe they just tried to defend the little people because they're good people. We don't know which. Dokja, I'm sorry. And then the old lady's there. Young. The old lady's chill though. She's laughing along. I think she's hiding some real strength there somewhere. Do you get it now? He smirks. They're all surrounding him. Mister, what do we do now? Just as freaking love the tiny version of all the characters. Just as expected. All of them had already grown smaller. If you do not hunt small people within the next 16 minutes, the Starstream will consider you to have no intention of acting as a catastrophe, and your status as a catastrophe will be forfeited. I have to come to a decision soon. Should I hunt the serpent here, or give up? Huh? And Michio standing with him. The character Michio Shoji is feeling guilt for the situation you're in. Character Michio Shoji has made a life-altering decision. He draws the sword. Character Michio Shoji has almost reached a state of evolution, and even just meeting Dokja and being put in this situation is potentially, like other characters we've seen, on the verge of evolving him past his TWSA counterpart. I'll take care of these men. I, Michio Shoji, am an honorable man who will not let my savior fall into trouble. Wait, Michio. Mr. Dokja Kim, you should run. I'll buy you some time, and he got his name right. He charges in. I think he said my name correctly just now. And we get this. I'm excited because next time, I'm going to end it here, and next time we get to see how this all plays out, and we'll probably continue to move forward. Like I said, I think the old lady has something up her sleeve still. This was a very good set of chapters. I love how much character work was done with this world and the moral dilemma that they're put in, which is something that I've praised a lot in the past for ORV. I love how Yuseung's character was handled, how she got to stand up on her own, have her own struggles. All of that was incredible. I love the adorable tiny mini versions of all the characters. That's really cute. There was already some manipulation with the Dokkaebi, because the Dokkaebi, I'll have you guess what the one word I was going to say about the Dokkaebi was. But the Dokkaebi was actually feeding information to these guys ahead of time, right? Yeah, they mentioned that the Dokkaebi had already warned about Yuseung. So the Dokkaebi is feeding information about the Korean participants to the Japanese participants already. And then next time we get to see more. Plus, if Michio gets to stick around, and I hope he does, and if Izumi's alive, maybe we can make friends with him too. And Asuka Ren, we could have 3 Japanese friends joining the team, if just temporarily maybe. All 3 of them sound cool. So I would love for all 3 of them to join. And like we've seen with characters in the past, like I brought up, just this interaction and being around Dokja so far has brought Michio to a state where his character in ORV could be evolving past his character in TWSA, which is really cool. So yeah, I've loved all of this. The art was great as it always is, and I'm going to end things here. So thank you for watching. If you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of these chapters, my thoughts and reaction to them. Subscribe for more Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it is free and open for anyone. If you'd like to help support the channel, by dropping a super thanks, that is appreciated. But if you want to help support the channel and help me keep making videos, but also get your name at the end of every video, also get One Piece videos a little bit early, you can do so by hitting join down below, or join down below to become a channel member, or becoming a patron at patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes. Their link will be in the description. But yeah, thank you to people who are already patrons and channel members. Thank you to Chosen Regular Evan Holly, Magical Girls, FR Nono, Abyss Knight, JA, and the D-Man, Cherryton Students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul, and Slayer Candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element Pate Diablo. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching. I really loved these chapters. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time.